Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're digging into something pretty fascinating. Imagine this huge company, Coal India Limited, CIL. The name says it all, mountains of coal.
Absolutely synonymous with coal in India.
Right. And now, suddenly, they're talking about hunting for completely different treasures. We're talking critical minerals, lithium, cobalt, graphite, the stuff powering, well, everything high-tech. Your phone, EVs.
Yeah, it was quite the announcement from PM Prasad, CIL's chairman, back recently. It really got everyone buzzing, miners, analysts, you name it.
It's a massive shift, and the big question we're tackling today is this a genuine leap into the future for CIL? Or is it maybe, just maybe, putting a shiny new label on the same old operation? We want to really get into what this means for India, for CIL itself, and for you.
Okay, so let's maybe start with these critical minerals. What are we actually talking about here?
Certainly.
Think of them as the VIPs of the mineral world. They're often rare, difficult to get at, but absolutely essential for modern tech, especially for the green transition.
Like lithium and cobalt.
Exactly. The heart of EV batteries. Graphite's crucial in there too. And then you have rare earth elements, REEs, which are, well, they're the secret ingredient in everything from wind turbines to defense tech.
And India, like pretty much everyone else, is scrambling to get hold of these, right? The push for clean energy for high-tech manufacturing, it's intense.
It is. And the big problem for India has always been imports. We buy most of this stuff from abroad.
Which doesn't exactly fit with the whole Atmanirbhar Bharat self-reliance push.
Not at all. It's a strategic weakness, frankly. And that's why this CIL move isn't just, a random idea. It feels very strategic.
Calculated.
Calculated, yes. I mean, CIL digs up something like 80% of India's coal. Huge player. But the pressure to diversify, it's been building.
Because even though coal still powers, over 70% of our electricity?
It's still dominant, absolutely.
The world is moving towards renewables.
Yes.
Climate goals are looming. CIL knows they can't just dig coal forever.
Exactly. And you add to that the government really pushing critical minerals. Remember the National Critical Minerals Mission, the NCMM, approved earlier this year.
Right. Focused on boosting domestic production, cutting imports.
So CIL, being the government's main mining arm, is basically stepping up to the plate. It makes perfect sense in that context.
And PM Prasad, the chairman, he seems pretty committed to this.
Oh, absolutely. He's been quite vocal, talking about it like it's a core part of their future strategy, not just testing the waters, but really diving in.
And they've already made a concrete move, haven't they, domestically?
They have. That Khattali Chotti graphite block in Madhya Pradesh, CIL was the preferred bidder. That's a big deal.
Because it's their first non-coal mining venture, right?
Their very first. And graphite is key for EV batteries, as we said. So securing a domestic source, that could be a real advantage for India down the line. It's, a tangible result already.
And it sounds like they're not stopping there, looking at other blocks too.
Yeah, they're eyeing 3 more in the current government e-auctions. Technical bids are closing soon, actually. And the list of minerals is, well, it's long. Potash, nickel, chromium, platinum group metals, copper, manganese,
Molybdenum, phosphorite,
lithium, titanium, bauxite, RDEs. It's like a whole shopping list for India's industrial future, each one critical for something.
But what's really interesting, I think, is they're not just looking within India.
No, absolutely not. They're actively scouting overseas for lithium, cobalt, and nickel assets.
So they actually changed their company documents, their memorandum of association.
They did. Amended it specifically to include non-ferrous and critical minerals. That gives them the green light to go after deals in places like Africa, Australia, South America, mineral hotspots.
Which fits perfectly with India's bigger strategy to, challenge China's dominance in this space.
It's a huge challenge, though. I mean, China mines something like 70% of the world's rare earths and processes nearly 90% of the global ore.
90%?
Yeah.
That's a stranglehold.
It really is. It makes everyone nervous. So India, through CIL and other efforts, is trying to build alternatives. They've joined things like the Minerals Security Partnership, the MSP, and the Supply Chain Resilience Initiative, SCRI.
Using alliances.
Trying to leverage those international partnerships. But let's be honest, going head-to-head with China, especially in places like Africa where they have deep roots and, frankly, very deep pockets, it's going to be incredibly tough. It's not just about money, it's about experience and established relationships.
It's a different ballgame entirely.
It really is. Maybe the smarter play involves partnering strategically. Say with Australia, they have the minerals, we could build the processing. Playing to our strengths.
That makes sense.
Okay.
So they're chasing these shiny new minerals globally even, but they're not quitting coal, are they?
Not by a long shot. Prasad has been very clear on this. Coal is still the bedrock of India's energy security. Full stop.
And the production targets reflect that.
Absolutely. They were aiming for 780 million tons last fiscal year, and the big goal is 1 billion tons a year by 2029-30.
1 billion tons.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a massive amount of coal. They're even reviving, I think, 34 old underground mines that were shut down. Many already have contracts awarded.
And building new washeries for coking coal. For steel.
11 new ones, aiming for 10 million tons of washed coal. So yeah, coal is very much still the core business, which leads to this real irony, doesn't it?
You mean funding the green revolution with coal profits?
Precisely. CIL is diving into critical minerals to support clean energy, electric vehicles, all that. But it's the coal money that's going to have to pay for this massive, expensive pivot. It's a fundamental tension.
Like trying to run a marathon while still smoking, maybe?
Ha! Maybe not quite that stark, but yeah, it's a balancing act. An established giant trying to reinvent itself while keeping the old engines running full steam.
Now, Prasad has talked about sustainability, too. Advanced technologies, sustainable practices, cleaner transport, cleaner mining tech.
He has. They're looking at things like rail-sea rail routes to cut coal transport emissions, and presumably cleaner tech for the new mineral extraction.
But CIL's environmental history with coal, it's not exactly spotless, is it?
It's putting it mildly. There's a legacy there. And mining any mineral has impacts. Lithium, cobalt, they come with their own set of serious environmental challenges.
So sustainable is maybe a goal, not current reality yet.
It often is in mining. It needs to be proven consistently. Now, financially, coal is still bringing in the cash. Record production last year, over 770 million tons, a 10% jump. And they contributed, what, around 161,000 crore to the government?
A huge amount.
Yeah.
But critical minerals? That's expensive, right? The exploration, the extraction tech, the processing plants.
Billions. Massive upfront investment needed. And CIL's is already stretched. They actually missed that 780 million ton coal target last year by about 10 million tons.
And those logistical problems, the railway rakes.
Yeah, that's a persistent headache. Not enough train capacity to move the coal out efficiently. That hits their dispatches, their revenue. It has knock-on effects. It even impacts their stock price sometimes.
So adding another huge capital-intensive venture on top of that, it's ambitious.
Very. Which brings us to the ground reality. The challenges are immense.
It's not like digging coal, which they know inside out.
Not at all. Critical minerals are often harder to find deeper down. You need sophisticated tech, specialized skills. Things CIL is really just starting to build up.
That graphite block win is great, but scaling that up to meet India's total need.
It's like going from, I don't know, baking one cake to running a national bakery chain overnight. The scale is just vastly different.
And environmentally, you said lithium and cobalt can be pretty rough.
They can be very water intensive, use a lot of chemicals. The landscape impact can be significant. CIL already gets flack for coal impacts. Adding these minerals means facing potentially even tougher scrutiny. Their own history might make approvals harder, frankly.
Sustainable will definitely be under the microscope.
Absolutely. Then you have the land issue. Acquiring land for any mining in India is complicated.
Protests, delays, resettlement issues.
Exactly. And even the funds meant to help mining-affected communities, the DMF funds, haven't always been used effectively or transparently in some areas. So there are legitimate questions about whether these new projects will truly benefit local people or just cause more disruption.
And globally, as we touched on, they're up against giants like China.
Decades of experience, huge financial muscle. India's playing catch-up. Getting those prime assets overseas won't be easy. It needs more than just showing up with intent.
You mentioned the stock market jitters, too.
Yeah.
Investors get nervous about missed targets, logistical issues.
Yes, we saw share price dips tied to production and offtake concerns earlier this year because of those rake shortages. A big, risky pivot like this might not immediately soothe those nerves, even if it's strategically necessary long-term.
So zooming out, this CIL move.
Yeah.
It's clearly part of a much bigger national push.
Absolutely. India's energy demand is soaring, third largest consumer globally. And the shift to renewables, to EVs, it hinges on securing these minerals.
The NCMM, the National Critical Minerals Mission, is central to that. Mapping what we have domestically, boosting production, building processing here.
It's the roadmap. And the government is also trying to build partnerships, like with Australia. They have the raw materials. We could potentially develop the processing capabilities.
Sounds good on paper, but needs real follow-through.
Always does. And the global picture, especially China's dominance, is the big motivator. When Beijing restricted rare earth exports a few years back, it sent shockwaves. Automakers, tech companies, everyone felt vulnerable.
India wants to avoid being in that position.
Desperately. But we're starting way behind. Those international groups, MSP, SCRI, they're important support structures, diplomatically and financially. But ultimately, CIL has to deliver. They have to prove they can actually execute on this complex strategy.
These if they stumble.
Or that they stumble, India's clean energy ambitions, our self-reliance goals in these critical technologies, they could be seriously delayed. The stakes are very high.
So wrapping this up, CIL's critical minerals venture is clearly a massive gamble. A necessary one, perhaps, but still a gamble.
High stakes, definitely. But if they pull it off, the upside is huge. Diversification for CIL, much lower import bills for India, cementing their position as a major mining player beyond just coal.
But the if is big. Overpromising, getting stuck in environmental battles, logistical nightmares. Those are real risks. It could end up being a costly distraction.
A financial black hole, potentially, if things go badly wrong.
For now, that graphite block is a positive first step. The upcoming auctions will be a real test domestically, overseas. That's the long game, much tougher.
And coal will keep paying the bills in the meantime, keeping the lights on, funding the transition. PM Prasad has a massive task ahead, but he's got decades of experience, so he knows the industry.
It's a fascinating balancing act. Exciting, but also nerve-wracking. A chance to redefine this coal giant.
But also a reminder of how hard it is to change course, especially for such a large established industry. For you listening, the promise is maybe cheaper EVs, greener energy eventually, if CIL manages this incredibly complex transition successfully.
Which leaves us with a final thought. What will define CIL's story 10 years from now? Will it still be fundamentally about coal, the bedrock it can't seem to quit? Or will this audacious leap into the minerals of the future be the defining chapter? That's the legacy being written right now.